So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where India and Pakistan go to war. Now these two countries are known for hating each other, and I've never actually covered a specific scenario where they go to war. I've had scenarios where they do end up going to war, but nothing that's only been focused on this area. If you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a comment if you have any. Sharing the video would also help the channel grow, so if you guys want to contribute, then do any of those four things. But yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into this video. Just real quick, I want to say two things. Number one, I should have the audio fixed. It should be good. I did a couple test recordings before this video, and if it isn't good, I'm probably going to scream. The second thing is on April 24th, which is tomorrow if you're watching this video on the day it's posted, there will be a live stream for the channel. It will be on this channel, and it will be covering Hearts of Iron 4. This video is for the 40,000 subscriber special, so if you want to come stop by and celebrate with us, then feel free to do so. It will most likely be happening anytime between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Anyway, let's go ahead and start with this scenario fully. Now, if you're from India, then I apologize. And if you're from Pakistan, I also apologize. Typically in world politics, I have a bias towards certain countries, but when it comes to Pakistan and India, I really don't have any favorable over the other. I understand where each country is coming from, but I like them both the same and equally, so I don't think there's any bias in this video. I'm basing this off of military facts, I'm basing this off of economical facts, and I'm basing this off of geopolitics. So if this video offends you, once again, I apologize. It's my bad. And yeah, so let's go ahead and bring this war on. Now, the start of this war will be over here in Kashmir. Also, if you guys don't agree with this map, I also apologize. This is my world map. I don't plan to change it. Over here in Kashmir, we're going to be having a problem. Now, India lays claims to pretty much all of this area, I believe. So we have some problems with that. Up north, where India's claim lies against Pakistan, we have a bunch of Indian and Pakistani troops exchanging fire. And since no one knows who started it and no one knows who's going to take responsibility, we have a war breaking out between the two. India declares war on Pakistan, and the world starts to shift their focus away from Ukraine and onto this region. Now, India and Pakistan are both in the top 10 strongest countries in the world. India is at number 4 and Pakistan is, I believe, is at number 9 now. So yeah, land gains would be very difficult for either. Accounting for allies here, you know, we have Pakistan who has China. China is also an enemy of India. And then we have India who's allies with Russia and the USA. Those are some interesting sides, but I honestly don't think India's allies would get involved in this war, and that is mostly because we're going to be having China joining later on. But for now, let's just go ahead and focus on some 1v1 combat. On the southern border of Pakistan, we have Indian troops pushing up in order to capture the coast and area. We then also see a campaign made by India pushing out towards Islamabad, and another one over here in eastern Pakistan with hopes of pushing out to the Indus River. Now remember, like I said earlier, Pakistan is also one of the top 10 strongest countries in the world, so they're also going to have their own little offensives. The first of which is over here into western India, and another one up north into Kashmir. Now this area is very mountainous, and it's also very close to Pakistan's capital, so we're going to be assuming that Pakistan has the advantage up north. They eventually managed to kick India out and move troops into northern India. Alright, so far this war looks pretty good for both sides. India has a pretty large push going in the south and in the middle, but Pakistan is holding its ground as well as pushing in northern India and over here in western India. Back down south, we see Indian troops continue their campaign into southern Pakistan, and eventually we have them reaching the edge of the Indus River. Now this is an extreme approximation, but the Indus River is about here on a map, and you can see how if India were to push over to this border, it would give them a huge advantage. So now they have this river border in the south, and it's not like the Dnieper River in Ukraine. We have Russians pushing over to that river and holding a front. Is very similar to how it will go here. So Indian troops push up and against that border and hold ground. We eventually see them make a front that looks like this, while their other front up north is pushing in towards the Indus. Back over in northern India, we have Pakistan completing its control over the Kashmir region, and now these troops are given a new campaign, which is to push down and occupy Delhi, the capital of India. So yeah, once again, looking at capitals here, we have Islamabad over here, and then we have Delhi down here. So both of these capitals are relatively in reach of each country. But anyway, back to the war stuff. India manages to kick Pakistan out of India in the south, and one large united front is created in southern Pakistan. With this, we have Pakistan changing up its plan a little bit in order to counter India's expansion. So we have more troops being removed from Kashmir and pushing down into central India. So we have troops being withdrawn from Kashmir and being put down south in order to counter India's expansion. Those troops managed to push a lot of the Indian troops out of their borders, but at the cost of losing ground in northern India. We also see the southern front bulk out a little bit more as it finally meets up with the Indus River, and overall this entire area has been managed to be completely controlled by India. So the Indus, like I said, runs around this line right here, and the only places that India really has to hold a front is right up here. So like I said earlier, we're going to be having some other countries getting involved in this war simply because that makes the most sense. Now India has allies all across the world. Like I said earlier, the main ones are are the United States and Russia, but they also hold close ties with other countries. These countries include Israel and Japan, as well as the UAE, Nepal, and Bhutan. I think Bangladesh is also included on that list, but I'm not sure, but feel free to correct me on the comments. Pakistan holds close relations with China, as we all know, but as well as countries like Saudi Arabia and Turkey. The main problem with that is that Saudi Arabia and Turkey are both also US allies, so it would be kind of confusing if the US's allies were to back Pakistan against a war with another one of their allies, if that makes any sense. Basically, allies fighting allies. I don't think the US would like that, and I think they would regulate it knowing that they're the world policemen. So for now, we have Pakistan getting China on their side. I also want to clarify something. I'm going to be mainly focusing on the Central Asia region in this video. This is a region that almost never gets any kind of show in my videos, and I think it's probably time that it gets its fair share. So yeah, now we have China joining in on this war, and it just got really interesting. In close coordination, India is very close allies with both Bhutan and Nepal, so we have them joining in on the war, although they really wouldn't offer that much in support, and it might even be more beneficial for them not to join the war, simply because having a neutral nation here means that they have a neutral buffer zone. But them joining the war also doesn't really change that much because these countries are impossible to invade. They're literally made up of mountains, and mountains are not easy to invade. So anyway, the war, like I said, just got very interesting. Anyway, back down south, we have India continuing its campaign in Pakistan despite China joining the war. But on the other side of things, we also see China pushing into eastern India. Now, India has a huge advantage in this war, and that is that mountains pretty much cut India off from China. So looking at borders here, this is pretty much the mountain border between India and China. So along this black line, we have mountains, big mountains too. The Himalayas, one of the largest mountain ranges in the world, if not the largest. I'm pretty sure it's the largest. I feel stupid now. So yeah, getting entrance into India is not easy, so India will be able to hold a pretty strong defensive here. There is a weaker point over here, I believe, though, so China does manage to push into that. And once China gets in, we have a big turning point in the war. But for now, this is a pretty slow advance since China wasn't fully ready to join this war, although they had been preparing. We've also had India preparing for a possible Chinese intervention, which, you know, they put troops over here in order to counteract that. So with a slow Chinese advance in the east, we have India continuing their push in the west. We see India lose ground in northern India, but at the same time also gain ground over here in central Pakistan. Now at this point, India has managed to pretty much push up against the Indus River, which runs along this line. But now the Indus pretty much goes straight up and over like this, over towards Islamabad. So India will now need to capture all this area in order to fully separate Pakistan into two pieces. So India shifts gears in the war. They now start to focus on northern Pakistan and India to hopefully stop this war before China gets completely ready and intervenes completely. So Indian troops go on an offensive and manage to push back Pakistani troops up north, but an overall push into Pakistan is completely failing for India. Back over in the east, we also see Chinese troops continuing to push into the country, and eventually they make a spearhead down, completely cutting off a large section of India. And with this, we have China edging in closer and closer to mainland India. Now the good thing about this offensive for India is that a lot of Chinese troops are now down south, which leads way to an Indian pushback in the region. For now, this is locked in a stalemate, but more Chinese reinforcements are on the way. So now, with the war pretty much locked in a complete stalemate, we have India making an interesting decision. Now, before the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan, we have India holding a relatively positive relation with the country in order to counteract Pakistan. So pulling in some unrealism here, we're going to pretend that India and Afghanistan still hold those relations, and we're also going to pretend that any ties between Afghanistan and Pakistan have been cut. So basically, we're going back to when the Taliban weren't in power in Afghanistan, and maybe we also have some reforms, some less corruption, and some more stability. With that in mind, we have Afghanistan joining this war on the side of India. Now, in my older videos, I always group together Pakistan and Afghanistan, and I recently found out that that was probably a mistake. Apparently they don't go well together, although I'm not still 100% sure, so if you want to correct me in the comments, feel free to do so. But with the joining of Afghanistan in this war, we have a very, very large shift in the favorable side. Pakistan is now dealing with two fronts. So Afghani troops start to push across their border and towards Islamabad, which lies once again right about here. We also have them pushing into southern Pakistan, and a big military decision is made to meet up in central Pakistan in order to cut off, well, Pakistan from Pakistan. So they plan to meet up around here and, you know, via spearhead, cut off Pakistan into two pieces. So India pushes across the Indus River and Afghanistan makes its way down south. With these two spearheads joining, we have Pakistan looking like it's not going to do too well. With this in mind, we have Pakistan making one last push into India. With the help of China, they managed to completely take over all of Kashmir, and they also managed to push across the Indian border, pushing back those offensive Indian military groups I was talking about earlier. With that, we have those groups being traded off for defensive groups, and the line stops. Pakistan also manages to push back Indian troops in the north, but this is also eventually stopped. And just as all this is happening, we have the spearhead down south being linked up. Now this is probably overestimating the Afghan army's capabilities. Well, it definitely is. They couldn't hold back the Taliban, but this is an over exaggeration of what Afghanistan could do in a war, even if, you know, they could do anything at all. So with this, we have a pretty big fall of southern Pakistan. Indian troops mainly focus on capturing the coast and cutting off any ports that may still be active, while Afghanistan mainly focuses on the main sweep. Eventually, we have this entire area being surrounded, and these armies that are still here start to flee to Iran. Eventually, the area surrenders, and India and Afghanistan start to focus more on Pakistan. Back over here in eastern India, we have the Chinese armies once again resuming their push, although they are stopped short when it comes to mountains, which, you know, one lies here, and then the Himalayas lie here. Chinese armies managed to squeeze their way up north, but eventually they are stopped in their tracks because mountain. So now with China's invasion of India pretty much out of the question, because once again, mountain, we have Afghanistan and India focusing in on Pakistan, which is bound to collapse if they keep pushing. Afghanistan's campaign towards Islamabad continues, but is eventually stopped. And down south, we have India pushing across their border for the third time. Looking ahead a little bit, we have India making a pretty large campaign into this area of Pakistan over here. I don't know the provinces or states or whatever it is of Pakistan at all, so don't get mad at me for not knowing that. But this area is under Indian control now, which is a huge step for them. Now Pakistan sees how it's falling apart, and it doesn't really like where this is going. Once again, we have Pakistan looking out for any other allies that could aid them in this war. Now you at home, you might be able to pick out some, but honestly, Pakistan doesn't find any. China manages to recruit Kyrgyzstan into this war, although they probably won't be able to offer much help. North Korea is another possibility, but I don't think North Korea has any interest over here in, you know, South Asia, so I don't think they'd join the war. And to add even more pain to the wound of Pakistan, we have Tajikistan joining the war on the side of India. These are two minor countries and they're also in conflict, so it's most likely that they just kind of do their own thing and fight each other. Back down south, we have India starting a new campaign, and that campaign is to retake all of Kashmir, and they start to do so with great success. They take back a majority of the province other than what China has managed to invade themselves, and with this, their final push into Pakistan is started. Afghani forces push into the outskirts of Islamabad, and eventually Indian troops push over and capture the city. Now this is your first AdizzPro video. You might be asking yourself, why is there no nuclear bombs? You know, there's 3 nuclear powers in this war. Why aren't the bombs flying yet? And that's simply because I never like to use nuclear bombs in my videos. I think it takes away the fun of the conventional war scenario, and it really just kind of skews the outcome to one side or another. Although in nuclear war, there's usually no winners. If these two powers went to war in real life, I'd pretty much guarantee that some nukes would be used, and it really wouldn't be good. But yeah, let's go ahead and finish up Pakistan here. So with the fall of Islamabad, we have Pakistan losing a lot of morale. Indian troops finally managed to reach the Indus, but that really doesn't matter anymore since the country has pretty much capitulated. And yeah, looking at Pakistan's final map here, we have 2 pockets left, one over here in northern Pakistan and one over here on the border of Afghanistan. These are relatively mountainous areas, and we have a lot of guerrilla warfare happening there. So with that in mind and kind of brushing over it, we have Pakistan completely falling and only a war between India and China remaining. Now the only problem with this is, and I'll say it one final time, mountain. Granted, up north though, we do have some progress as Kyrgyzstan forces, with the help of China, push into Tajikistan, but that's the only thing going for the blue team, as we have Indian troops who were once over in Pakistan now pushing into China over here in eastern India. Eventually we have the full liberation of this area and a stalemate being drawn between the two countries. Now looking ahead in this war, this is probably a few months later, we have some border changes but not many. China has restarted an offensive over here in eastern India, as well as they have pushed into Kashmir and a little bit into northern Pakistan, and over here in Tajikistan it ain't looking too good. But eventually the two sides are tired of fighting and a peace conference is held in Moscow. Alright, so taking a look at this peace treaty here, we have some interesting events but none that are really surprising. Starting up north, we have Tajikistan getting pretty screwed over by Kyrgyzstan and China. They lose a lot of land in the north as well as a little bit of land in the east to China. Moving on down south to that, we have a very thick looking Afghanistan here. They gain land in northern Pakistan and a little bit off the tail of Pakistan, because, you know, why not? Speaking of Pakistan, that looks like it hurts because they lost a lot of that land. More specifically, they lost a lot of valuable land over here off the other side of the Indus. So India's new border pretty much pertains over to that river, creating a river border between the two countries. Up north, we have India getting all of its Kashmir claims from Pakistan, although still losing out from some from China. And yeah, in this peace deal, we pretty much have India and China signing white peace. And yeah, so that's going to do it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Remember, this is just for fun, fictional scenario, not meant to be taken seriously. I don't want to offend anybody. And yeah, so one more reminder, live stream tomorrow if you're watching this on the day it's uploaded. So on the 24th, basically, there will be a Hoi 4 live stream. I'm gonna be doing it for a couple hours. Come stop by and just show your support for the channel, help celebrate all that cool stuff. 40,000 subscribers is a big milestone. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.